time, I'd like to invite the man with the very fancy shoes up to the front of the stage, Dr. William Gregory Sawyer. Check out these kicks. Wait, we gotta show them off. Show them off. Show off the shoes.
Okay, hold on.
Oh, we got socks too. We have a whole.
And the socks.
You're welcome.
Oh, it was nice working with you, Jen. Nobody caught that, did they? They didn't catch it. Okay. So a couple of announcements. First of all, I want to make sure that everyone knew why I have on these great shoes. So if you can't see, you've got to check them out later on. They are, I'm not pumping Derrick Rose, but they are kind of neat colored shoes. They would not be shoes that I would normally wear, but we are in an environment, because this is the ATOD conference, we're here because we are very cathartic and the work that we do is here to help others. Well, something had happened, and my staff knows I'm normally not the person who would share all this kind of information, but 2 months ago my sister was diagnosed with ovarian cancer, and she's stage 3. So after I left NASPA in Baltimore, I went to Chicago where my sister was going through her 5th treatment of chemo. And so she wanted to get out because she hadn't been out. And so we went to Foot Locker because I need to get a pair of shoes. I've been wearing dress shoes now for about 7 days straight. And I'm sorry, my dogs were hurting. So we went to Foot Locker, and my sister sees these shoes. And she goes, "Those are the ones you have to get." And I thought, dang. Oh, and here's some socks too. So she knows that a lot of times at the university, my sister owns a company called EDI, which is Environmental Designs International. She has a master's degree in petroleum microbiology, and she's owned this company now for approximately 23 years. If you were to step into my office, you would get an opportunity to see that she lives 2 doors down from President Obama in his house in Chicago. So because of my sister, my family spent the entire day with President Obama at her house, which was kind of neat. So there's a picture in my office of me and President Obama, and it says President and Vice President, and I'm not lying. A different context, maybe. So the reason why the shoes are called Soles with a Purpose, S-O-L-E-S, and every Friday is Funky Shoe Friday. You pay your $1, you get to wear your funky shoes, and it goes to the American Cancer Society. So any of you that want to go ahead and participate, we're going to start Instagramming. Fellas, I know you guys don't go and we don't get checked up, and during the month of November, I let my hair grow, what little I have left. I had hair when I first became a vice president many years ago. I don't have hair now. But I did that for Movember because we need to also educate ourselves. So with that in mind, I just wanted you to know that that's why we have these shoes on. So you'll see Ed Lee Biota. He'll have his funky orange on. You'll see a couple people with the funky red. And so just to know that it's really for a cause of making sure that we support cancer research. And the fact is that those are stories we often don't tell. Keeping a secret doesn't make it any better. So thank you very much for that piece of editorial comment. So I'm excited about being here today because first of all, I got to ask you, have you guys had a good time or what? More importantly, have you learned a lot since you've been here? Have you met people since you've been here? Are you coming next year? Not here. We are looking forward to this conference each year because each year it was set up at the premise that we want to make sure that we don't lose any more students, that we want to make sure that the students that we have, that we love, the people that are around us, we're going to keep them. We saw the statistics. We continue to see the statistics. President Rush yesterday was eloquent in his opening remarks in terms of where we are with the data. We don't need more data. We need less data. We need not be statistics. We need not have our campuses be the ones that are on the front page. And we need not have our family members be the ones that we bury. We need to take this responsibly as we've done here this weekend. We know how important it is. We've heard our own president from Cal State Channel Islands talk about what happened in his own family with his own mother who had an addiction. We've heard from a family that lost their son because people were afraid to report it. And last night we heard from students about how their lives have been impacted by alcohol and the pain that they still feel. And so going to a conference is one thing, but we need to take this information back to our communities and continue to make a difference, to talk to people around us. It always reminds me of when I was at a diversity conference, and when I was at this diversity conference and people, they won't tell jokes about, I'll say off-color jokes. But let them get around their friends, and then that off-color joke is being told, and what they say is, well, I mean, they don't really mean it. The first chance you had, and you blew it. So what I'm asking you to do today is, when you leave this conference and you see something in front of you, do not revert back to, well, they're my friends. They're not alcoholics. They just smoke a joint every now and then. We must take what we do seriously, and hopefully the message that we take home with us will be one of integrity, the one of intentionality, and that we know that's a need-based program that's not going to go away if we hide it under a rock. So I appreciate, once again, all of you being here. We at Channel Islands really have enjoyed hosting you. This has been a lot of fun for us because we love our campus, and we want you to see what we have here. We're proud of all of our colleagues throughout the state of California, but we wanted you to see a little piece of our paradise here in Camarillo. So thank you guys all for being here. So with that in mind, it's a great pleasure for me to introduce a friend of mine, a colleague. He really is my brother. We met probably about 3 years ago, and it's very interesting because we've been in this community together for over 12 years, and it seems as though that we were not allowed to be together, or we weren't allowed to meet each other. We may talk about that a little bit. But what is really fun is that those of us that know about Super Sunday, Pastor Roderick Huggins, or Bishop Huggins, I got to tell you about Roderick Huggins. So Dr. Huggins is a very different kind of person. So he has the pastoral qualities because he's a minister. He has the academic qualities because he's got that doctorate. But more importantly, he has the humanistic qualities because he's with the people. And so he's not the person. I heard many years ago, I remember hearing Dr. Leo Buscaglia say that if you really want to do something important in life and you want to help yourself, you lock up your house, you lock up your belongings, you walk across the street, and you do something good for somebody else. And that is Dr. Pastor Bishop Roderick Huggins. So for the last 3 years, we have done Super Sunday at St. Paul Baptist Church. And I'm so proud because when you go into St. Paul's, it is family. I don't care what you look like. I don't care what you're wearing. It doesn't matter. When you walk into St. Paul Baptist Church, you are family right off the bat. My mom used to say, you don't need to look like them to look after them. That's St. Paul's. And so I wanted today to be a very special message because we have a very special keynote speaker who's a very good friend of mine in Lou Gossett Jr. And so I thought the message that Lou will be bringing is very, very important. But there are 4 of us that are very close friends, that also my high school buddy that we played football together, Rodney Wellington. Rodney and I have been together for many, many, many years, and he's now telling stories. You should at least charge for the stories, man. The students say, can you tell us a story about him? That's called blackmail. But it's really exciting because these individuals have had a major part. And I'm sure that at this point, Rodney has his own personal story about alcohol and other drugs and how they have impacted his life. Rodney was a professional athlete, but alcohol and other drugs took a lot of these things away from him. A very impassioned story if you ever want to talk to a speaker and a person that can tell you about how alcohol can destroy you and what alcohol can do to you as an athlete, as a professional who's in the public eye. But with this in mind, I'd like to finish up and tell you that Pastor Huggins, not only are you a friend and a committed community member, but you do something that's very, very different. And that is you bring in a passion with the academics, you bring in the scholarly component, but the one thing you do is you close up your doors, you walk across the street, and you help somebody else. So at this point, I'd like to introduce and bring up my friend and colleague and brother, Bishop Dr. Pastor Broderick Huggins.
I am hippopotamus glad and elephant happy to be here. We honor Dr. Rush, my dear friend, Dr. Sawyer, and I so appreciate the covenant relationship that's developed between this university and the St. Paul Church and how they've opened up the avenues of education to many of our students that would have not been able to share in this experience otherwise. I've come to realize that there is a distinct difference between contract and covenant. Covenant is something that you're obligated to do. Covenant is something that you want to do from your heart. And the desire of this university and the commitment of this university to connect with the community through the faith community is something that I will always cherish, and I'm so grateful that God has brought us together and has knitted our hearts together for the benefit of our young people in the community. And with that, I would ask that you would give Dr. Rush and Dr. Sawyer a great big hand of appreciation for their commitment to connect with the community. One of the fringe benefits of our covenant is that we've been able to see several of the members of our church employed, Dr. Angela Timmons, and raise your hand, Dr. Timmons and LaSonia Davis, who are committed and connected and employed now by the university as a result of our relationship. And so that's certainly something that I'm extremely proud of as a pastor in this city and this community. One of the fringe benefits of being connected with Dr. Sawyer is that you get a chance to meet a lot of great people. I called him the Pied Piper. And in following him, he brought Dr. Lou Gossett into my life, into the life of our community. And it affords me the greatest pleasure to introduce him today. Lou Gossett, as far as I'm concerned, before I read some of the more objective things of his of his resume, Freudian slip. All right. I must say. Okay, I'm a preacher. Okay, obituaries, funerals. All right. I must say, without equivocation, that, and I'm sure that you'll agree with me, you'll hear that during his discourse, that he's probably one of the most substantive personalities that's ever come out of Hollywood. He was born in 1936, Brooklyn, New York. Lou has a flair for projecting quiet authority as he scored well personally in a string of diverse and occasionally challenging roles. The aspiring actor caught a break at his first Broadway audition for Take a Giant Step in 1953, where, beating out 400 other candidates, the then 16-year-old landed the lead acting role in a career flourish in his work in the stage, film, and versions of groundbreaking drama about African-American family life in Lorraine Hansberry's A Raisin in the Sun, proved to be a watershed moment for him. This led to numerous appearances on the network series in the 1960s and 70s, culminating in 1977 when he picked up an Emmy Award for his eloquent portrayal of Fiddler in the landmark ABC miniseries called Roots. I want to stop there. There are other things that are in this bio, but I want to stop there because his role in Roots, I believe, depicted and it affirmed everything that he would do throughout his career in terms of helping young African Americans know who they are. And the favorite line from his role in Roots was when Kunta Kinte had been beaten and had been left for dead. It was Lou Gossett in his role, and you could tell that it was more than just playing a role. He says to Kunta Kinte, "You know who you be. There's going to be a better day." And he has lived that mantra throughout his life. And with that, I'm so grateful to introduce our friend, our brother, who taught me what it means to be identified with suffering and pain, but also knowing that there's a better day and knowing that God has great things in store for all of us because we know who we be. Give Lou Gossett Jr. a great big hand of love as he comes to share with us on today.
Hello, y'all. What's up? Thank you, Bishop Huggins, for that introduction. Dr. Sawyer, thank you, sir. Rodney, it's good to see you. It was wonderful to meet you, Mr. Timmons. And I met a brother down there, stand-up brother, who everywhere I have gone in the world, I have met somebody from the neighborhood, man, which is why I'm here today, because of those neighborhoods. After the Depression, I told you about it if you heard me speak before, but now there's a living example. And I found that living example everywhere in the world I've gone. Somebody from that neighborhood I have met. I was in a two-seater restaurant in Dar es Salaam in East Africa. And I'm sitting there, and there's this guy who was in the Peace Corps, big red beard, looked like a hippie. And we're eating or something. He looks at me and says, "Hey, Louis Gossett?" I said, "Paul Dieter?" Now, Paul Dieter is the guy I ran for president of Lincoln High School back in 1954. What do you do? So I said to him, what? And then we said it almost at the same time, "What are you doing in Africa?" I go to Mexico City. This guy is in public relations in Mexico City. I'm talking to the president of Mexico. And I look at him, and he says, "Louis Seymour, you're working in Mexico City. We graduated together." Everywhere, for something about those neighborhoods must be necessary maybe today. So thank you for asking me to speak, because I'm full of words. I hope I don't speak too long. But I seem to be on this path. So let me tell you who I am. You know, I'm Louis Gossett Jr. I've done all those movies and stuff. But what you're looking at is somebody, he used to be on drugs and alcohol. So I live in recovery. 2/3 of the United States is living in recovery, by the way. And it's God's dictation. I remember as a child, I had a great-grandmother who I speak about all the time. She is on my shoulder. And in those neighborhoods, before the cell phone, there were the old ladies in the window. And if we did something wrong, it could have been 2 o'clock in the afternoon, I don't know how my parents knew that I had done something wrong because there was no cell phone. Telephone was too heavy. But we had a neighborhood. So if I got home, if my parents wasn't home by the time dinner was, the first door I could have had maybe some gefilte fish. The next door, maybe it was some lasagna. The next door would be some corned beef and cabbage. And the next door would be fried chicken. It depends on who was home. If there was somebody who was hungry and homeless, they were pulled in. Their clothes were taken off. They were giving me hand-me-downs, stuck in the bathtub, and sat at the table. If somebody went to sell drugs in the neighborhood, no, you can't do that here. If somebody wanted to have a fight, a little fist fight maybe, you go over in the corner and do that. The number one thing is that we all took care of one another, and the streets were safe for our kids to play in, and we played to the street lights without fear. That's the kind of neighborhood that we grew up in. We need those neighborhoods today. So how can we get back to that? When I grew up, some of the men in my family, they were kind of frustrated black men. You know, they had to be porters and butlers, and they had to work. You saw the butler, and you saw all that stuff. You know the stories a little bit more. And my heroes were my uncles, my father, on both sides. They were the best athletes. They had the most fun. They attracted all the people around them. They were zoot suiters. They knew the jitterbug, you know. And when I was born, that's it. I lived and died to be with them. They tickled me. They hugged me. They're women. And I was in seventh heaven. So, you know, when you're growing up, the first thing you know is them. That's supposed to be the way to go, right? And so we go to the ballpark, and they played the best basketball. And you go to the clubs, everybody surrounded them. And you go to a place, to the Apollo, and they take you to the Apollo. So the highlight of my first 10 years of life was when my uncles took me to a thing called the beer garden. And on the radio was the Dodger game for the World Series. And they put me on a high stool and gave me a shot glass of beer. That was the highlight of my childhood. And I took that highlight and I moved on. For some reason, I was given a gift, which I didn't know what it was. And it was the gift of acting. I hadn't seen no plays. What I wanted to do was be a professional athlete and maybe a doctor. And I played some good sports and stuff, but I didn't know anything about acting. But that gift kind of resurrected, I guess, maybe in an English class in high school. Well, the English teacher happened to be a man, a former Broadway producer, director, who read the dailies about jobs and show business. And he said, they're looking for a kid about your age to play a lead in a Broadway show. They can't find anybody. There's nobody in the business. So they're coming to the high schools. Tell you what, tell your mother to take you down there on Sunday. What can you lose? So my mother took me down there on Sunday, and they had me read some stuff, and I heard some giggles, because there's a little stage with one little light in it. And they giggled, and I got upset, and I started to go back toward the subway, until this man who looked like me, only 25 years older, stopped me and says, wait, we didn't mean to hurt your feelings, but you just reminded me of me. So his name was Louis Peterson, and he said, you just give me goose pimples, because that's exactly how I speak. But you got the part, but you got to get rid of one thing. He says, what's that? I said, you got to get rid of the Brooklyn Jewish accent. So I said, what are you talking about? I don't know what you're talking about. I always speak like this. So all summer I had to get rid of my accent, and they taught me how to act. Now that's miracle time. That's lightning. Some of you people in this generation call it a God shot. But I was prepared for that moment because of the direct input of a great-grandmother. Her name was Bertha Ray. Now, in the Bible, which got started after the slaves were freed, there's births, there's deaths, there's baptisms, and the Bible recorded the family history. Everybody going like bobblehead doll, because you remember, right? That was all of us, right? But her birth was not recorded in the Bible. And the Bible started when the slaves were freed. So the Bible must have started somewhere during Reconstruction. So we figure when she died, because it was her job to raise me and my cousins, because everybody else had to get a job. Most of it was maids, butlers, porters, handymen. So Grandma and great-grandmother took the responsibility of raising sometimes 15 and 20 of us. That's what they had, the old boarding house reach time. And anybody who was hungry and homeless, they came in there too. And they took care of the children. And there were rules. You had to behave yourself. She only lied to me one time. She said, "This is going to hurt me more than it's going to hurt you." She could hardly see, couldn't count, couldn't read, but she successfully raised 15 of me and my cousins. I have a first cousin now, his name is Robert, he's in Closer, major crimes. But the Gossetts are all over the place. Thank God for Grandma Ray. So when she passed away, we had to do some crude arithmetic because she remembered the Bible being started. She remembered the slaves being freed from Watkinsville, Georgia. They had to do some crude arithmetic. So when she passed away, when the youngest of my cousins got married and moved to Long Island, she sneezed, went to bed, and didn't wake up. She had to be maybe 114 years old, as long as there's something for her to do. But she is symbolic in my life and in my recovery. So finally, when I stopped copying my uncles, and I said, well, if Uncle Tim could see me do this now, boy, I just said, well, that stuff is no good. Let me try this. So there was two people being raised. Somebody who God gave a talent of acting, but inside, an undeveloped child. And that undeveloped child is the one who hid in corners and didn't want anybody to see, and is in that dark place where I stumbled upon drugs and alcohol. Wanting to be like my uncles and the people I admired, the jazz musicians and some of the athletes. And I really didn't like it, but I wanted to belong and I needed to be a man. So the rules at those days is you're not a man unless Friday night and Saturday and part of Sunday, you can do what you want, but you must wake up and on Monday morning do the best job possible from Monday to Friday, and that's the description of a man. So I have some news for you. If you do this substance and you think you're exempt from having it be a problem, maybe you got to think again, especially if it's hard drugs. If you take 1/100th of any kind of drug, and this is my education, it limits your thought process. It lets the door open for the disease to come in here and live with you, and it grows along with you. So even if you haven't done it again for 10 years, that disease has been living with you as if you had. So if you wait 10 years and you do it again, it's as if you've been doing it all along. That's the devil. And I think God, who I presently believe in, has created the devil. He kicked him out of heaven. His name was Lucifer. And Lucifer is a very beautiful, attractive angel that we all know who Lucifer is in the streets. Sometimes it's in the image of a beautiful woman or a car or money or an 8-ball or whatever it is. But it's only momentary. So in this path of recovery, I've come to be chosen by my higher power, whom I call God, who is in charge all of the time. That's what my great-grandmother said. She said, when I did that first play, my great-grandmother used to dip a thing called railroad mill snuff. And she had a rocking chair, see? And she would observe. And she lost a finger when she was a child, so she had a half a finger, see? And that half a finger was the most powerful finger I've ever seen in my life. So I thought I was hot stuff, you know. I had my Florsheim shoes, my Robert Hall clothes, and a woman on each arm. I'm walking down the street, you know, in my zoot suit and my hat. And she said, "Come here, boy. Let me tell you something." She said, "God was here before you got here. He's going to be here while you're here. and he's going to be here long after you're gone. So you may as well calm down and let him run things. So I went in here, went out the other. When I listened, everything was good, and when I didn't, everything was bad. So God sent her to give us all messages. That's what I think today about in retrospect. I also think that there's nothing that happened in my life that has been an accident. And none of us, good and bad, deaths, fights, illnesses, God is sending us a test. And it's a test of faith. And that faith is for you to hit those hard times in your life as a test of faith, knowing full well that you're going to succeed. At the other end, you'll be able to live and talk about what just happened. So I think God is also sending us signals, mankind, by sending us Oklahoma, 20 straight tornadoes, tsunamis. He's trying to he started patting us on the shoulder. Now he's blowing whistles. Why is he getting our attention? Because the world is in imbalance. It's an imbalance in such a catastrophic way that the only way to stop the imbalance is for us to cooperate together, brother and sister, without racism, without differences, to hold hands and bring this planet back to its pristine shape. So you may not think I'm talking about alcohols and drugs, but I have a point. So now if we bring it back to this pristine shape, what we'll do is we'll clear up the oceans and the air. We'll rebuild the rainforests, and our children will copy from that the continuance of the salvation of the planet. Now, in order for that to happen, everybody's got to be in the right mind, huh? In the right mindset. So there's a symbol. There's a triangle. One side says spiritual growth. The other side says emotional growth. And the other one is physical growth. The combination of all those three brings us a mutual cooperation. And like this room and everywhere else where it's successful, it kind of stands out as something that maybe we should do more often in all of our affairs. So now, let's get down to the hood, to the place where the violence takes place, and a place where the drugs are distributed, and these people are making money on you young folks. Let's get down to that. When I was a young person of your age, there were little drugs here and there, but it's really back in the corner. And if I was interested in doing it, I had to look over my shoulder. And then once I got high, I had to hide for a while until it went down. It wasn't a very pleasant thing to do. That's changed. Because you young people can walk the streets today with guns in your hands and shoot one another and have a diddy bop and hip, have hoods and stuff, because nobody's going to stop you. God's going to stop you. And how is he stopping you? You'll either die, get wounded, or go to prison because grandma's not there. Grandma created a community, all you people from all colors. We probably have to go back to that thrilling days of yesteryear when if somebody got hurt in the neighborhood, everybody responded. So I've come up with a concept. I've spoken to the mayor, and I've been put on this path here in sobriety of selfless service, which I think that's what we learned back in the hood. Whatever we did in the hood, because we were all poor, it was for the whole neighborhood. That system comes from poverty, but it's a way of surviving. If I brought a sandwich and there was 10 people, I broke the sandwich into 10 parts. We took very good care of one another. And as a result of taking very good care of one another, those people who survived, like that gentleman over there and others that I've met, are still here and still of service. So the rules to young people is not what you get, it's what you give. And you think, hey, that don't make no sense, man. How am I make me some money? You know, giving up money. You want me to give me my money up, man? You want me to give me a car? Yeah. I want you to do that because it's not in your mind what the reward is, but in due time you realize that the reward that you get from giving rather than taking is priceless. That's the next level. So we learn, and our industry is a little guilty of showing you the wrong message about making all that money and getting all those cars and having all those women and being in the big house. And but I know some people, some young people, who are sitting there, they're now wondering, what's wrong with this picture? And what's wrong with this picture is that next level. The level of the conscious contact that God, who runs my life, is in charge. And in order for me to get a proper message from God, who sent me Jesus and Allah and Buddha as messengers of his message, that he's in charge all of the time, so it behooves me to figure out on a daily basis what I can do to block his message so I can get it clean and clear on a daily basis and figure out what I have to do today. It happened this morning with my meditation, and I had to come to see Greg Sawyer to speak my mind. There's no script here, right? So now, what has God done for me as a result? 2 years ago, I was at the doorway of death. When I first met Professor Sawyer, I was here in wheelchairs. Couldn't go up 3 steps. I was 278 pounds. I'd just come out of the hospital, and my mindset had said, it's over. And now you remember, I came here because I needed to be of service. I was desperate to help before I left. So, Minister Huggins, that was 2 years ago, though. So today, for some wonderful reason, I've been chosen to survive because at the doorway of death, I heard a voice. I don't know whether it was in my mind or whether the voice of God, you make up your mind who it was. But the voice said, go back. It's not your turn. The last thing I saw was 3 doctors shaking their heads with their backs turned. The next thing you know, they were putting stuff all in my nose and my arms to bring me back to life. That was the Los Robles Hospital in Calabasas after an automobile accident. From then until today, as I come to this path of resurrection, and it's never over, stuff starts to come back physically, emotionally, and most importantly, spiritually. I am now a mentor for the young. That is my birthright. That's why I'm in good shape. I've gone from 278 pounds to 212. I'm up at 5 o'clock in the morning. I walk, feed my dogs, and I'm awake before my assistant shows up. I have been on a pilgrimage from Chicago, and the Urban League Affair, where Professor Sawyer's sister was my date. And I wanted to get well again because we need another date. Then on to Birmingham, Alabama, where history was made. And then on to Memphis, Tennessee, where Dr. King was shot. Then on to Selma, Alabama, on the 49th celebration of the Bloody March, preceded by a Lifetime Achievement Award from the city of Los Angeles, to countless jobs. And today, I'm in the middle of a mini-series, another kind of version of Roots called The Book of Negroes. And I'm now Halle Berry's father in another series called Extant for CBS. Now, that's the guy that used to do drugs and alcohol, guys. So that disease that stays alive all this life, I have to grow faster and stronger than that disease. And the only way I can do that is by letting God fight the battle and be humble and subservient to the one higher power that I have to be subservient to, and that's God's power. Now, if he's in charge 24/7, I have to figure out ways, whether it's meditation, whether it's prayer, or whether there's accidents. So I've been put on this path. I had some resentment because I had all these awards as an actor. So I was raised with this anger. I know you can identify your brothers, this inequity and racism and all that kind of stuff. It makes you mad, makes you act like you have to wear a hood, and you have to have a rap. You have to have the attitude because you don't think this thing is equal. So I went to see Mandela, and Mandela smiled at me. And I asked him, I was with him for 20 minutes. I said, the whole world was waiting to see what you would like when you came out of Robben Island, and you were there for 27 years. And you came out with a smile, messed everybody up. I said, why? And he smiled again and he said, there's a much bigger picture. And the bigger picture is that God wants us, our attention, to take better care of this planet. This planet is dying. So if we have the most money or the most weapons or the most power and we flex those muscles, it doesn't matter if the planet is gone. So if we have the most influence and we feel that we're superior to somebody else, you can be superior, but where are we going to be superior at? So we may as well be in a 747 airplane, and it's at 30,000 feet, and the plane is crashing to the ground, and everybody inside the plane is fighting over who's going to be in first class. That is an assumption that maybe by gentle suggestion, I need to plant a seed that we cannot survive anymore without one another equally. That's what it's going to take to save the planet. Now down to the drugs and alcohol. In my neighborhood, you couldn't practice that. You couldn't do that in this neighborhood. So I've come with a plan with our mayor to have this summer and next summer be called the Summer of Peace. And by gentle suggestion in each one of your neighborhoods, if somebody shoots somebody or sells some drugs in the streets, it's all your responsibility to get out there at that very moment and scream and say, no more. No more. Not in this neighborhood. You can't sell drugs in this neighborhood anymore. You can't fight one another in this neighborhood no more. Our young people don't know unless they get those orders. But they're free out there. Nobody taught them anything. It's not their fault. So my suggestion is we have to reassume that parental attitude like grandmama and stop it. They're waiting to see how far they can get. They just got here. They don't know nothing. But they're brilliant. Let's give them a shot. Keep them from going to jail. Tell them who they are and upon whose shoulders they stand and how we expect them to behave. So it's not up to anybody. It's not up to the president. It's not up to the police or the judge. It's up to us. No more. If you don't have the answer, we have one. I have a foundation, as many others. Mine's called Eracism. Bishop Huggins has got a place that he's got a program. We have an answer for you young folks. If you're on the brink of trying to be a man or a woman with substance and beer, I know you can get a woman without a six-pack. There's some lessons we have to teach you. So I'm here to stop the preaching and go sit down and finish my lunch. But there is no such thing as impossible today. As God has shown us that. God has shown me that it wasn't my time to pass. I have a message. I've pressed the message on all through Africa, all through the mayor's office, in the cities of Chicago and Memphis, Birmingham, San Francisco, Brooklyn, New York, and it's getting bigger and bigger. I pass it on to you for what it's worth. Pass it on to your loved ones and tell them if they're on the verge of trouble, no more. No more in this family, no more in this neighborhood, no more in this country. If the man can't make any money, he'll go somewhere else. Thank you.
Thank you. He is a hard man to follow. One of the highlights of the conference is also to recognize all the individuals and programs dedicated to making our campuses safer when it comes to alcohol, tobacco, and other drugs. I'd like to now invite up Ms. Nari Dars, Ms. Marion Link, and Ms. Mira Friedman to the stage.
Good afternoon, everyone. We have the distinct pleasure now of turning the tables on you and inviting up some of this year's distinguished award recipients. We don't get much appreciation in this field, right? It is a field of service where we spend all of our time focused on our community, our students, our colleagues around us who are in need of our help. And we don't really get opportunities to appreciate them. And so my team and I get the pleasure of doing that today. We will be inviting up award recipients to the stage to receive your award. For a few categories, we'll also be recognizing some of the nominees in our student categories. Nominees, we also have a certificate for you, which you can get from Mira after our program ends today at 1:30. So I'd like to open us up first with the Student Leadership Award. We're not going to spend everyone's time reading the categories. They're in your program if you'd like to reference those. But we want to bring all the highlight to those hardworking students and staff in our field. So some of our nominees in this category that we would like to acknowledge, if you wouldn't mind just standing, include Justin Ibarra of Cal State Fullerton. Dallas Laurie of Cal State Channel Islands. Elizabeth Lopez of Cal State Fresno State. And Taylor Haren of Chico. Now in this category we get to acknowledge two winners. So our first winner is Nicholas Bell of San Jose State University. Nicholas is a graduating senior. He's described as a leader who empowers his campus community. And after reading his nomination, our entire team can understand why. These are just a few of Nicholas's accomplishments. As a fraternity member, Nicholas served as the new member educator and Gamma representative, facilitating discussions surrounding brotherhood, accountability, and responsible drinking. As a senior resident advisor, he planned more than 75 programs addressing cultural competence, academic development, and civic engagement. As a lead peer health educator for alcohol as well, Nicholas trains new peer health educators in speaking skills and outreach abilities, delivers alcohol education to over 3,500 students, and serves as a student representative for their alcohol and drug prevention abuse community. Fellow students have described him as a passionate leader, an advocate, and a friend. Please join us in congratulating Nicholas. This is the best part of my job, hands down. Our second winner is Selene Alatori from Sacramento State. She has consistently demonstrated her commitment to student and community wellness. She took a student leadership role as a freshman and never looked back. As a freshman, she joined their Student Health Advisory Council. The following year, she enrolled as a peer health educator and alcohol violence intern. As a student manager for their health and wellness promotion services, she coordinates their peer health education outreach and teaches substance seminars on campus. She completed suicide intervention training skills and Out of the Darkness Walk to bring awareness to suicide prevention on her campus, and is a safe zone advocate for LGBTQIAA awareness. Selene also supports her local community by volunteering to be a tutor for 6th grade students and working in a soup kitchen. She does it all. Please join me in congratulating Selene. Our second student category is for Outstanding Student Club or Organization Award. We would, in this category, also like to represent some of our nominees, if you wouldn't mind standing. One of our first nominees is Power, Promoting Otter Wellness, Education, and Resources at Monterey Bay. Peer Health Education from San Diego State. sorry, San Jose. Woo! I got a lot of campuses. San Jose, woo! Okay, there we go. We got to do it justice. And Alive and Well Pure Health educators from Cal State Northridge. And our winner in this category is Students Talking About Relationships and Sex, STARS, from Cal State San Marcos. Come on up, y'all. STARS, if you missed their breakout session this morning, which was fabulous, I was there. STARS is a peer education program that utilizes interactive theater to address alcohol and sexual assault, relationship abuse, bystander intervention, to empower students to advocate for a safe, healthy, and inclusive Cal State San Marcos community. STARS has made presentations to more than 2,500 students with their Consent is Sexy video, which has been seen by over 10,000 students just on their campus alone. Their interactive workshops are something to be seen by all. So if you'd all join me in congratulating STARS. They certainly shine brightly today, don't they? Our next category is for the Peer Education Advisor Award. This year's recipient is Gary Rodriguez of CSU Monterey Bay. Yes, you, Gary, come on. Gary provides extensive training for their peer health educators. His PHEs deliver 38 events, presentations, and workshops to over 2,000 students on a wide variety of health education and wellness topics. Stay up here. That's right. You gotta shine, man. Gary provides extensive training for all of his PHEs, including Bacchus CPE training. They provide Salinas Valley Memorial Hospital smoking cessation training. They explore the effects of DUIs, receive mental health first aid training, and applied suicide intervention skills training, ASSIST training. He's provided opportunities for attendance at conferences like this, retreats, and certified trainings to promote the peer health educators' learning and leadership skills. The training program Gary developed has now become a 4-credit class at Monterey Bay, and Gary's described as hardworking, student-centered, non-judgmental, energetic, and a friend and mentor. Congratulations, Gary. Next, we have our Violence Prevention Champion Award. I know our award winner is not able to be with us today, so we can all recognize her along with her colleague, Mira Friedman. Mary Sue Savage is the prevention coordinator at Humboldt State University. She created and delivers an innovative bystander intervention Check It program focused on preventing sexual assault, dating violence, and stalking. The Check It program has moved students from passive agreement that violence is wrong to an active engagement in violence prevention in their community. Ms. Savage has been described as a leader in the most glowing terms. She's an excellent communicator who provides support, innovative, and productive environments. A direct quote from her nomination we just loved was, "Ms. Savage has taken a comprehensive and coordinated approach to violence prevention at Humboldt State University. She's gratefully and passionately led the peer health educators and volunteers to believe that a world without violence is possible, to fight for justice and maintain compassion in all work." Please join us in congratulating Mary Sue Savage.
All right, it's my pleasure to make the next award announcement, which is the ATOD Champion Award. As the Interim Director of Health Education at Cal State Fullerton, Narayana Darst serves as a champion for the responsible use of alcohol, tobacco, and other drugs. She's made a big impact since arriving at Fullerton just 2 years ago. Here are a few highlights of Narayana's work. Narayana manages 100 members of the Peer Health University Network. She's an inspirational leader for GAMA, Greeks advocating for the mature management of alcohol. She's led the effort of policy awareness and programming at for Fullerton's new smoke-free policy. Narayana has connected her campus to community organizations, including the Orange County DUI Task Force, the Orange County Prescription and OTC Drug Prevention Coalition, and the Orange County Tobacco Education Coalition. Narayana is described as a stellar example of how health education really works in the context of awareness, attitude, and behavior change. This year's winner of the ATOD Champion Award is Narayana Darst from Cal State Fullerton. Congratulations, Narayana. The final award today is the Chancellor's Award. Dr. James Lang, the coordinator of alcohol and other drug initiatives and professor at San Diego State University, is a leader in ATOD prevention. He is known as California higher education's go-to expert for the most current ATOD information. Dr. Lang is a researcher, writer, trainer, and webinar developer with expertise in marijuana, binge drinking, impaired driving, underage drinking, tobacco use, prescription drugs, emerging drugs, and many more. His work focuses on evidence-based environmental interventions. Here are just a few highlights of Dr. Lang's extensive work. Dr. Lang has developed and implemented an award-winning comprehensive prevention strategy. His highly successful Aztec Nights program is also nationally recognized. He's a regular presenter at national conferences and has presented at the CSU AOD conferences in Chico, Fresno, Dominguez Hills, Long Beach, and today here at Channel Islands. He's helped plan several CSU AOD conferences, including this year's conference. Dr. Lang serves as the regional coordinator for the network. He's taken the lead on educating and preparing California colleges and universities for potential marijuana legislation. Dr. Lang is selfless in his dedication to his field and his peers. Many of us in this room today have benefited directly from his experience, guidance, and generosity. A sincere thank you, and this year's Chancellor's Award go to Dr. Jim Lang.
See, that's why I made them all stand up here, because I had to the whole time. Thank you all for joining in our celebratory moment here. I will pass the podium over to Jen Miller for our wrap-up notes.
Okay, we are so on time. So we would like to take a couple minutes to acknowledge the very hardworking team that has been working over the past 2 years. We were just reminiscing. We did not receive a lot of emails and phone calls over the past 2 days, and it hit us because you're all here. So we look forward. We look forward. So we want to acknowledge the folks. We do have time. We want to make sure the folks are acknowledged because this was a very large collaborative committee. And we have a little something that we will make sure that folks get on the way out. So we have something, it is beautiful under the podium that we will share. Dr. Virgil Adams, a faculty member at CI. Dottie Ayer, oh man, she does everything. Rodal Banos, Danny Hawes, Dr. Amanda Carpenter, who is responsible for Thursday evenings reception. Cindy Derrico, Dr. Genevieve Evans-Taylor, who creatively made sure that when the teleconference went down, we kept going. So we thank her. Ed Libiota, Jerry Lynn Himbaugh, Ray Porras, who made sure we all had free places to park, and shuttles who took us back and forth. Ariana Robles, who made sure your name tags were pretty, and they all had your names. We only had one name, but we were able to fix it. Amy Romelin, who did the program booklet, and she did the website, which she thought she did a fabulous job. Louise Seifert, the woman in the beautiful hat, who also made sure that registration was so quick, we never had a line. So thank you, Louise. Cassandra, who made sure we had good food to eat, and it was served quickly. Marissa Stith, who made sure a mic never went down, the AV was set up correctly, and things ran smooth, even the beautiful lights that we plugged in, every single one. She did a great job. Diane Way, who made sure we had money to do what we needed to do. Ronnie D. Wellington, our community member, who is always a source of support. Mira Friedman, as you saw, who made sure the awards, they did a very thorough awards process. Dr. James Lang, I don't know what he didn't do, but I know that he for sure made sure that programs were well thought out and prepared, and we had an excellent number of submissions this year. Jennifer Lano, Marion Link, Ray Morello, Nariana Darst, Linda Penna, Gary Rodriguez, and Dr. Sabrina Sanders, who I said I will miss very much, so I'm going to call her weekly so we can still catch up. Amelia Stoltz, Rosalinda Velasco, Kathy Yarmo, and we have small tokens for all of you. I checked 3 times to make sure I didn't leave anyone off, but if I did, I owe you lunch after this reception. So at this time, we'd like to please stand if you were recognized for your hard work in putting this conference together. We have little gifts for you. So Dottie Ayer does everything, so I'm going to have them with her, because you all know who she is. So we'll make sure that they get to you before you leave. Oh, we're doing it right
now. Well, we do have, I think, one more, because you guys are going to do your handoff before we leave? Yeah. Okay. So I have the wonderful opportunity and responsibility of thanking our co-chairs. And I know a lot of times in your booklet they put the vice president's picture in there, and yes, I do sign autographs. That's that Lens Crafter picture. I will sign them later. My wife said, "You don't look like that anymore." So it was 8 years ago. What was we going to do with it? You know? But I do want to bring up our co-chairs again. So if Dr. Gravel and Dr. Miller will please join me at the podium. We all know that we as leaders in these roles, we stand on the shoulders of all the wonderful people that do the work in our areas. And one of the things that I love to do is I will certainly accept any of the blame, but I also want to make sure that for my staff that I give them all the kudos. And I have 2 fantastic people, and I'm going to give you a real quick story on both of them, and we will be out of here by 1:30. But I got to tell you that about 16 to 18 months ago, somewhere around thereabouts, when I said, "Hey, got a wonderful opportunity for us to start working on this now, so let's start working on it." And Debbie Gravel, who was working with our health programs on campus, had that dubious responsibility of being in my eyesight, so she's the one that got it. Well, only about maybe 4 months later, 3 months later, I hired Dr. Jennifer Miller, who joined us. And I thought I was really doing something, too, for her, giving her a responsibility, because she was also in my line sight, and that was unfortunate for her. But for both of them, what wonderful team members, and what a wonderful conference. And I could say from the seat that I'm in, I have gotten very few of the phone calls and emails because you sent them all to them. I've gotten very few complaints because there really haven't been any. And the one thing that I've really received over the last 2 days, unbelievable compliments and emails from you, from people that are attending. And I've been looking at my Twitter account. Man, y'all been hitting it, right? Right, and that's good. I love that. And all the positive comments. So to both Jen and Debbie, you guys have been remarkable. You have put on the most incredible conference I've been to in a while. And thank you so much for everything. So inscribed is our conference logo picture of our bell tower, as well as the conference logo. And it says as Dr. Debbie Gravel, ATOD co-chair, Dr. Jennifer Miller, ATOD co-chair. Amazing job. Thank you so much. I appreciate both. Absolutely.
It is my pleasure to now call up Gary Rodriguez from Monterey Bay, and Mira Friedman from Humboldt.
So we have a gift for them that's going to keep giving for the next 18 months.
Look familiar? It still works. Yep. Where did you go? Let's do it together. There you go.
So my name is Mira Friedman, and Gary and I will be co-facilitating or co-organizing the ATOD conference in 2015. So from Humboldt State and Monterey Bay, we invite you to attend the conference next year, and it will be at Monterey Bay. So thank you.
Not yet. Real quickly, how many of you have been to Monterey? All right, so the rest of you who haven't, you're in for a treat. We've already got the dates, April 16th and 17th. Mark it on your calendars now at the beautiful Monterey Marriott Hotel in downtown Monterey. We will have shuttles going to the campuses so we can show up our campus as well. So we look forward to seeing you there next year. Thank you.
I have 129. No, man, this is a Rolex. I know what time it is. There you go. All right. Oh, man. Those are the vice presidents acting up, y'all. Those are y'all's campuses right there. One of the things I haven't had a chance to do is recognize our colleagues. So prior to the ATOD conference, we had colleagues from the UCs and the CSUs, the vice chancellors and the vice presidents to meet. It's the first time that we have met in 7 years. It's the first time we have met on a campus, and only the second time in 12 years. And I would like to recognize at this time our colleagues, because you guys know they do help us to come to these conferences because of the funding and their support. So I would like for all my colleagues, the vice chancellors and vice presidents, and the chancellor's office and president's office, would you all please stand up and be recognized? We had an incredible meeting, our joint meeting between the UCs and the CSU, absolutely incredible. And when you guys think about it, together, we are the largest system in the United States of America, and we're making decisions for you. And that's key. And we've made a decision, we committed ourselves that we're going to meet on an annual basis. So that's really exciting because the things that we do will be done for you. As we close the conference up today, one of the things I did want to do is make one special comment. We do know that over the past year, there have been a couple of incidents on campuses throughout the United States. And we heard that one of our award recipients won for violence and maybe doing also to preventive programs against violence. And I want to make sure, because I told Dr. Bill Nance that I was going to make this announcement, and we made it in our joint meeting. But San Jose had an unfortunate incident that took place on their campus. And one of the things that many of the campuses are trying to do around the country, and that is that we are recognizing the idea of let's stop the hate. You heard Lou Gossett talk about that. And so as we leave our ATOD conference and understand that violence too is definitely an outcome of our behaviors when we are participating. And therefore, on your table, you will see a card. It's simply a quote. But as I told Bill, our students on our campus and a committee, which is chaired by our co-chair, the Academic Senate, put together a Don't Hate campaign on behalf of our colleagues at San Jose. So if I can ask San Jose to please stand up and be recognized. San Jose State. Bill, we're behind you. We just want you to know, and those cards on the table, you could take them with you. We just wanted to make sure that we don't look at hate, we elevate, and the idea is how important it is. We're behind you, we support you, and we'll be doing it all over the country. Thank you all for attending our ATOD conference. It was a pleasure to host you this year. Thank you. Be safe.